Well, hello. I think I'm live everywhere, hopefully. My name is Derek Schwinn. I'm your host for Highlights and High Fives. This is my weekly or every other week show where I try to look at our community with a glass half full perspective, highlighting some of the things going on here in the community, hopefully celebrating some things, giving some metaphorical high fives, and just overall talking about what's going on in the community, or at least from my perspective, some of the things that I'm seeing. So I am always continuing to go through technical challenges and trying to get everything to sync up. So I've got more of my professional camera over here where I'll be able to put some slides through and try to coordinate some visuals about what I'm talking about. And then here on my computer, I've got here on the Good Stuff Marysville Facebook page. For some reason, this fancy streaming device I've got does not stream straight to a Facebook page. It's giving me a lot of problems, so I continue to try to do that. So my slides I cannot do through here yet, so I'm still working to get everything jiving together. So if you want to jump over to YouTube, there's you can see everything there through the other camera with the better microphone and with some slides coming through. So anyway, thanks for being here. Hopefully you find some value, you learn something. By no means is this a full list of everything that's going on here in the community. This is just the things I'm paying attention to, or at least that I remembered to write down, make some notes about, and then kind of go through all of that. So if there are things you think I should be talking about or things I can help you promote, highlight, give high fives, whatever it might be, happy to do that. Or if you want to come in and be on the, you can't see the fully see the sign here, but if you want to come on the Good Stuff podcast and talk about your organization, your business, sponsor the podcast or anything, love to chat with you about that. So that's enough rambling about me. We're going to move on to some of the things going on. So let's see if I can get my memory of things that I didn't put on the list. First one, just down here on Industrial Parkway, Coleman's Crossing. If you haven't experienced, we've got the roundabout going in. I think that's June 1st. So let's see, June, July, August. I think the timeline is supposed to be done the end of August. Most of us probably are guessing that's not going to happen. I'll cut here in a little bit to the resource that you can go to for capital improvement. Let's see what it's called. Capital Improvement Projects active map that you can go on for the city, so you can see, at least from the city perspective, what projects are going on, some details, where they're located, and all of that kind of stuff. And while I am on that, let's see if I can pull this up here. I don't know if they've got... I couldn't really find a page for it, but we'll switch over here. This is a screenshot of the Facebook page. The city is looking to they're holding an open house June 30th, 6 to 8 p.m. As it says, you're invited to the public open house to discuss upcoming improvements to East 5th Street. And as you can see there in the image, from Walnut down to just past Vine, whatever street this is down here. As usual, they seek to gather community input on what that might be. I think it's either here or here. They've done some renovations or improvements, whatever you want to call them, on 4th Street, where they put some of those curb bump outs and then they ripped them out and put them back in. So I have yet to figure out what the logic is and what goals they're trying to accomplish in that. But looks like you've got an opportunity to provide some input on what that might look like. So June 30th, take a look at that. So again, that city map is a good resource if you've got questions on what's going on. That Coleman's Crossing roundabout, it's quite impressive. My wife's dance studio, where I host things out of, is on Industrial Parkway. And the last couple times I've come from 5 Points out this way, once was one way, one was another way. It's impressive how many cars are backed up going to 5 Points from the Dublin direction. Even though Coleman's Crossing is closed, it's amazing how many people are still funneling through here. So fingers crossed, hopefully the roundabout will help alleviate our increasing traffic issues. We'll see how that goes. Well, nothing else is coming to mind off the top of my head. Let's jump into some more of these things. So this was an interesting one. Marysville Matters, if you're not familiar with Mr. Joe Case, that does Marysville Matters, puts out a lot of good news information, if you will. He is really good at digging and finding those things and keeping up with that. That is not a strong suit of mine. I like to get on here and ramble and give my opinions of those things. But he did a survey, I forget how long ago, but the results came out on June 2nd, it looks like. And since I am not a paid subscriber, I cannot see these. But I took a screenshot of it. And these were the results. So here's a breakdown. 86% of residents said they perceive that city leaders are not on the same page as residents when it comes to managing growth. 14% of respondents to the question said they do believe residents and leaders are aligned. 81% of respondents perceive that the growth in Marysville is not well thought out. 76% of readers who participated said they perceive that the pace of growth in Marysville is too fast. I think you can get the perspective there. Obviously, at least the folks that responded to this aren't huge fans of the expansion that we're experiencing. And it seems like every day we're experiencing, seems like, obviously it's not the case, but new development after new development that's coming in or proposed to come in. I think it was Marysville East when they went to Planning Commission the last time around. Sounds like there were a lot of folks vocalizing their challenges with that development. And I believe they tabled that vote, or they pushed the vote off, trying to remedy some of the concerns of what's going on. So obviously, point being, this is a big thing that's going on. The growth that we're experiencing, if you're living under a rock, maybe you haven't heard it, or you just don't care, you don't pay attention, which I wish I could do that. So anyway, that's part of the reason I get on here, is talk about start that stream over on, like I said, always something. My device over here just quit. So better check to make sure that's still going. Maybe. Let's see if we're live again. Never a dull moment with all this technology. Yep, didn't go back to live. There it is. Crazy. Anyway, sorry for the delay. Point being that there's a lot of challenges of growing pains that we've got going on here. So we can't really stop it, but we can hopefully work to make it the best possible outcome, the best possible outcome we can come up with together, make a better community for everybody moving forward. So back to my slides. A really cool thing coming up, if you aren't familiar with Union County tourism, excuse me, the CVB, Convention and Visitors Bureau, they do a lot here. So for those of you on Good Stuff Marysville's Facebook page, you're not going to be able to see this, but I am looking at the dineonacoveredbridge.com website, June 22nd, July 12th, August 23rd, September 13th, and October 4th. They have really cool events called dinner on a bridge, I think is what they still call it. But it's a very cool experience. If you've never seen, for those that can see the slides, let's see if we can find some pictures. Really great ambiance, experience, great food. Never heard a bad thing about it, so that's a really nice one to check out. So I encourage you to check that out. I myself, unfortunately, have never experienced it, but I would love to try it out one day. Busy schedule and all. The next thing on my list, again, Mr. Joe Case put out an interesting article about the perspectives of income tax and the reality of that here in the area. His survey that he put out said high relative to other communities is the perspective that folks have about our income tax here in the 43040 zip code. And the image that I'm showing here on YouTube anyway shows, let's see, out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, out of about 25 local jurisdictions, municipalities, we are fourth from the bottom. 1.5 income tax. So there's many in the central Ohio surrounding area that are higher than us. So there's a lot of that going on, perceived realities versus some of the factual things that are going on. And so that's another effort here, is to coordinate some of those things to hopefully create a better perspective of what's going on and some of the things we're experiencing. So you guys don't need to see that over here. And this link didn't open. So those that are watching on YouTube can see here is the interactive map for capital improvement projects. Back over here to Coleman's Crossing, the roundabout there. Let's see what it says. So finished July of 25. So we'll see how that goes. Let's see, how do you zoom out of this? X. Okay, West 5th Street resurfacing. Zoom on into that. Looks like on the west end of town. Carriage Acres and Cherry Street sewer improvement. There by the railroad tracks is closed. I believe all of that's closed down. That one will take through September, so quite a few roads closed down. Professional Parkway traffic calming improvements. Professional Parkway calming improvements aim to reduce speeding, improve safety for all road users traveling along Professional Parkway. I'm guessing since that has become a cut through for a lot of folks, they're seeing increased traffic and speeds there, so they're trying to work on that. Lots of sidewalks going on. Chestnut Street waterline replacement there in front of, let's see, is that done? Finished date May. Yeah, maybe they are done with that. Just haven't taken it down yet. They're in front of, we still have East Elementary School on the map. That's interesting. Now it is the board offices for those that don't know. Anything else on here? Pump station replacement all the way out there on Industrial Parkway. And a pump station for sewer. All the fun stuff. So, if you caught not the last one, there was one that came out today. My podcast today was with Mr. Matt Milholland, financial advisor with Milholland and Mitchell Group. He's also on the board for the Union County Foundation. So if you're not familiar with the Union County Foundation, check that one out. He gives a good explanation on some of the things they've got going on, what their goal is. So I encourage you to check that out. But the podcast before that was with Fretless, this wonderful group of humans here who will be putting on a concert tomorrow at the Avalon with, Union Music Hall Orchestra. And I believe they said that's their last one going on. Union Music Hall Orchestra. That'll be their last concert together, I believe is what they said. But they played on the podcast, so at the end of the podcast, you can get a preview of what they have to offer there. So I encourage you to check out the podcast and go check them out tomorrow. Unfortunately, I won't be in town, so I won't be able to make it, but that's a great group. They, especially if you enjoy that music, they said they're going to play some video game music, a variety of music. So it's not just the old classical music that you might think of. So that's that. I think the link that didn't come up was for the skate park. There is an effort to improve the skate park. It sounded like at one point maybe there was going to be some city money put behind that to improve the skate park, more in an official capacity, but it sounds like that's a kind of a grassroots effort. So that was a GoFundMe page. I'll be sharing that in the future to support that. That was a big part of my life growing up as a high school, college kid. Skateboarding, snowboarding, doing a lot of that kind of stuff. And one of the things is trying to improve the image of those kids and give those kind of kids a nice place to go have an outlet. We actually had some friends of mine when I was that age. We had a little t-shirt apparel company that was Outlet. We got in trouble. One of the kids got in trouble once, and a judge asked him if he had an outlet. So, that kind of became the thing, was having a good outlet for your creative pursuits or whatever it might be. But having a skate park to funnel those into, and a good one, helps out quite a bit there. So that was a good one. If you were lucky enough to make it to Uptown Friday nights and stay dry, that was a good event. I enjoyed it. I was there with my equipment, live streaming to the Avalon. So that was a good time. Got to socialize with some folks. Here's some good music. What were they? Shuckin' Bubba Deluxe, I think. First time I've heard the name. Finally got to see him, so that was pretty good. So those were the events. One other thing that I just became aware of, Derby Dash Festival from Milford Center. Sounds like they're working on cultivating a festival there to, create some community pride, I think is part of the objective there. So I think that one's August. I'm not 100% sure. So that one will be coming at some point. Some other notable things, Roosters. I thought they were in the process of renovating Roosters, but it sounds like they just got approval to move forward. I think they were just shut down for a little while. So if you've got any information on that, feel free to share, and I can more accurately talk to that next time. But it sounds like they'll get started and make some pretty nice improvements. So we'll see how that goes. One of the developments that I was referencing earlier, that it seems like we just keep getting development after development. I guess it was proposed as Burger Woods, and I guess at a city meeting of some sort, an individual whose family helped create the Burger Road way back in the day asked that the developer not use their name and calling it Burger Woods, and so I think they're rethinking that, and so that's a great example of developers in the city and residents working together to seek a better future. So that was a good note there. Chick-fil-A had some signage things they were going through, and I think I just saw today that they're not going to put up as many signs as they were wanting to, so that's good for the residents over there on Conley Street. And then another one, I met some folks, I forget their names, I'll need to stop back by, but the old Cabinet Company building, if you're not familiar with that one, let's see if I can pull that up. I tried to convince my wife to put the dance studio in there, but I was unsuccessful, as it is an old building and needs quite a bit of, well, that's interesting, quite a bit of work to get there. So next to the Armory, this is Richwood Bank down here. Across there is, let's see if this gives us a street view. So if you're familiar with this building here, those that can see the picture anyway, the Marysville Cabinet Company, I assume they made cabinets back in the day. Landmark building, they called it. I think maybe over here it says Landmark building on this sign here. Big old brick building in town. The town run goes right under it here. Anyway, I guess somebody from Dublin has bought that. What they told me, these windows up here, I think there's like 7 rows of windows maybe, but they're going to put 8 townhouses, vertical townhouses, 2-story or at least 1-story with a loft in here. And then I think they've got a wellness center going in the bottom and something else. And they apparently have purchased where Marysville Printing was and the last location before they moved, the Stewardship Driving School. So anyway, got some outside investors that are doing some stuff there. The old Marysville Printing place, if you haven't been by there, they looks like they're doing a pretty nice job turning that into a salon. Definitely has this brick, brick feel, the old school wood floors, brick walls, and all of the stations and whatnot. So that's another one that we can look forward to here soon. Some older buildings getting some attention. The other one that you've probably seen by 5 points, Dairy Queen obviously is getting pretty close. They were painting the arrows on the in and out when I drove by just a minute ago, so I'm sure that one's getting pretty close to being done. An interesting one that I've heard for a while, 161 and 42 on the southern part of the county. Just the talks about how much they are working to prepare for the growth of Central Ohio that I think years ago, one of the meetings I was at, alluded to 42 becoming kind of a second 270 in Outer Belt, and just speaking to the growth. I think the article I saw talked about 161 becoming a 4-lane road, increasing. Anyway, so that was that. So I think that's pretty much all I had to share. On a personal note, my birthday was yesterday, so if you're watching this and you wish me happy birthday, I appreciate it. Got quite a few texts and Facebook comments, as most of us do, hopefully. So appreciative of that. Had a good day. Heading to do some fun stuff this weekend, too, so hopefully get to relax there and do a few things there. But hope you had a good week. Hopefully Friday is treating you well and you've got some good stuff, either some fun or some productivity or relaxation on tap for this weekend. If you've got any feedback or anything I can add to future updates, or if you want to come on the podcast or anything I can do to help you out, marketing, real estate, community conversation, just an ear to talk to, happy to do that. So if there's anything else I can do for you, hopefully you'll reach out. Hopefully I can see you around town. Until then, take care.